All right, here we go. Good afternoon. This video, I want to talk about genetics. Genetics and how can you tell? How can you predict? What indicators can you use to look at yourself and predict whether or not you're going to be able to successfully build that physique that you want, whether you're going to build all that muscle that you're after, or should you not waste your time, right? Because God knows, just like with the fake natty situation and the situation that everybody lies, nobody tells you exactly what they're using, they're always telling you less than what they use. And the moral issue here is that it's doing injury to people because it gives them unrealistic expectations. And then they train and put out all this effort, and then they have to be disappointed and find out that they can't replicate that. They can't build that physique because if they had only known, how much stuff you were taking, or some people say they're not taking anything, and the accusation is that they are, So we don't want people to have, we don't want grown men to have unrealistic expectations and end up heartbroken, right? End up heartbroken if they've wasted their time. They've wasted their time investing in themselves, investing in getting fit, and training, lifting weights and getting strong, and trying to eat healthy food, trying to build some muscle. It's been a complete waste of time because they just can't get to where, they're looking at these icons and they can't get there. If they had only known, that the Hawkster was doing more than just taking his vitamins, Yeah, we don't want that, do we? We don't want disappointment. We don't want to disappoint all these fragile men. These poor weak son of bitches. We don't want to, put them through that trauma, And I'm not making light about people that lie. I mean, people that lie are going to lie about a lot of shit, right? It doesn't matter what you're lying about. Lying about you take gear, you don't take gear. Lying about how much you take or not. If that's in your character, if you're just a person that lies, then you're a person that lies. It's simple as that. It's not. It doesn't speak, very highly of a person's character if that's their practice. If they just walk about just lying about everything, and there are people out there who do that. But this is a special issue. You know what I mean? So likewise as that, I'm feeling that. Well, why can't we get information so that these poor souls can read their future, kind of like reading the lines on their palm, to get an idea. If they even have the genetics to replicate those physiques that they're after, so that they don't end up disappointed in life. Right. And the whole reason this all comes up is over there on Instagram, on my Instagram, right? Once in a while, not often, once in a while I'll get somebody to come on there and just say something stupid, which I don't even understand that. I don't understand that, man. If you don't like muscular men that augment with testosterone, which I do, I don't, again, I'm 60 years old. Again, you can look at pictures of me in the past, over the decades when I was so enormous that it was ridiculous, and I'm certainly not like that anymore. I don't look anything like that. Nothing like that. Nothing like that. So it's not very difficult. It doesn't really take that much for me to regain a significant amount of muscle, because it's still nothing. It still pales in comparison to when I was truly, truly big. And I'll put some pictures in here as if you don't already know, in case you don't. But somebody came over on Instagram, and I don't understand that if you're offended by this kind of thing, if you don't, if big muscular guys offend you because you figure they're on mountains of gear and they lie about how much gear they're on, or if they're on gear at all, and even if they admit it, it's so terrible and unhealthy for you, and it's just going to destroy your health. And I'm still waiting to see if that's going to happen or not. I'm 60 now, so we'll see, I guess. But if all that's that offensive to you, then why are you going on another man's Instagram when you see why are you looking for pictures of men like this? Why are you looking for pictures of men like this? It's kind of like saying that, you're not, it's kind of like saying you don't like looking at penises, but then you go out and find as many pictures of penises as you can and you make comments on them. You know what I mean? There's an ass for every seat. If your ass doesn't fit that seat, if that's not the seat for you, why are you even out there, It's like Shakespeare. Methinks the lady doth protest too much. You know what I mean? It's kind of suspicious if you ask me. Either A, you got some kind of bizarre fetish that I don't really want to hear about it. Nothing surprises me. Or you have no value of your time. You're completely bored. If you hate it, it doesn't even make sense to me. I can't even make sense of it here explaining it. If you really hate it so much, and the whole thing, then don't you have anything better to do with yourself? Go out and make some money, find something productive to do, go work out yourself, go for a jog, get out and get you some freaking sunlight, some natural vitamin D, or something, for God's sake, something else. Your life must be incredibly empty, devoid of anything of any value or enjoyment if you partake in just spending time seeking out pictures of muscular men that are clearly on testosterone or at least use some testosterone just so you can say something negative. It doesn't fool me at all. So that's why I don't really mind it. But if you come over and say something stupid on my Instagram, I may or may not say something stupid in response. It's my Instagram, for God's sake. It depends how I'm feeling that day. I may have better things to do myself, but if I see it, I may reply, But a guy came on, I don't even know what picture it is, picture of me, I don't know what it is, a tank top or whatever, a recent picture just put up there a couple days ago or something. And, people are very kind and they're complimenting me, and everybody's very positive, which I greatly appreciate, and that's what I do. I go on other people's stuff and I like their pictures and I try to say something positive, or don't say anything at all. They don't say anything at all. Unless it's really far out there, unless they're talking about nutrition and it's something that's really insane, then I may just mention that, I found this to be true, I may do that. But I try to keep it positive and upbeat, man. I try to spread positivity instead of negativity, man. Negativity's easy. That's too easy. That's for weak people, man. Negativity's too easy. If it were competition to see, you go out the door today and see how many people you can offend and turn into an enemy, or absolutely not your friend, the opposite of being of a friend. Go out and make create as many bad relations with strangers as you possibly can. If there was an award for that, everybody would be hot competition because it'd be so easy to do that. But then if you flip the converse around and it was a challenge to see if you could go out, how many people can you befriend in that day? How many people can you genuinely elicit from them a sense that they like you in that day, right? Just from an interaction, right? So negativity is just easy, man. That's the cheap way out. That's the sellout thing. Negativity sells. That's old, man. That's stale. That's not progressive. Anyway, so I decided, he made a remark, said some shit like drugs. That's all he said. One word, drugs. So I said, I don't even know what I said. I don't feel like pulling it up. I said something. Not anything really, snide. Just I said something. And then he said, you yourself said that you, talking about me, that I said, you yourself said that you have had horrible genetics. And I've seen pictures of you before you went on drugs. And you didn't look anything like that. And blah, blah, blah. And I don't even know where the fuck that came from. That's completely wrong. I've never said that. Is there anybody out there who looks at me and thinks I have crap genetics? What? I have really, really good genetics for this. I have really good full muscle bellies. I have small joints. I have good insertions. The only real weak points, I have some weak points, but they're not really glaring. They're not horrible. So I absolutely have really good genetics. What I said, I know what he's talking about. What I said in a video was that, see, and negative people, they're just looking for something to pick out and bitch about. They don't really pay attention. They're not really hearing anything. They're just looking for something that they can jump on, So that's why, the miscommunication there. My communication was clear, but it didn't get into his head because he's right off the bat looking for negativity. But what I said was that before I started, I didn't know if I was going to be able to build any muscle or not. I just enjoyed working out and just wanted to try to look a little bit better because I was underweight, in my opinion. I was always very thin, very skinny. I had abs and shit. I had abs, for God's sake, when I was 13 years old from fighting and training and shit. But I wasn't big, You can see my ribs too. You can see my abs, but you can also see my ribs. I didn't like that, So I didn't know when I started out if I was going to be able to gain any muscle or not because I was always a thin guy. But I just wanted to see if I could look a little better. That was my expectations. That's all. It's before the internet and all this horse shit, right? None of that. And lo and behold, it turned out that I built all this muscle. And from where I started, to look at me before I ever lifted a weight, not before I ever started using gear, before I ever touched the weights and started really eating food, you would have never imagined that skinny kid could build that much muscle. You would never have imagined it. So how can you determine for yourself if you have the genetics, if you're cut out for this or not? You can't. You have to do it. And nobody can tell you. Nobody. If they try to tell you, they're bullshitting you. It's a red flag right there. It's just somebody making a video about nonsense. Because I've seen it both ways. I've seen really thin, underweight guys that were very small, and then they just completely transform, man. They just go through a complete metamorphosis when they start lifting weights, not when they jump on gear. It comes later if it comes at all. But when they start working out and they learn how to eat properly, a lot of people, I've seen a lot of skinny guys that you just couldn't have predicted that they could become some big muscular behemoth, but then they just blow up. Have very good genetics for it. And then I've also seen guys that were very stocky, naturally kind of thick, without being really fat. And you would have thought, man, that guy should work out. He's got incredible genetics. He'd probably be the next Mr. Olympia, for God's sake. And I've seen many guys like that. They start working out. They put in the time. They eat the food. They even go on gear. And they still don't look like shit. They look a little bit better, but they really don't turn into much. Whereas the littler guy, man, that you thought probably didn't have genetics for this, he just blows the fuck up. So I found that you cannot look at anybody and just predict, and tell the future like you have a crystal ball. Like, oh, that's skinny, that guy's like a little runt, he'll never be able to build any muscle. You can't look at somebody and say that, because that dude may have outstanding genetics just waiting to be switched on by the stimulus. Make of it what you will. Whole point to this video, if you're out there and you're a smaller guy, or you're a big heavy set guy, and you don't feel like being a fat guy anymore, or you don't feel like being a little skinny guy anymore. You don't have to be, just because, where you start doesn't necessarily have anything at all to do with where you're going to end up. Nothing. And nobody can look at you. You could be the scrawniest guy in the gym today, and you just stay there and keep hammering away at it. Exercise discipline and consistency and perseverance, tenacity, and maybe you're going to blow the hell up. And nobody can tell you that you're not going to. The proof is in the pudding. So don't fear. If you got the genetics, you don't have the genetics. You're not going to know until you just get out there and get it done. Nothing works until you do.